Hey, we are live, folks.
We rolling?
Is Jeff frozen?
Are we live?
I think we're good.
We are.
We are live. How about you, everybody? Welcome into the Auburn Live call-in show. Today is Sunday, November 20th, 2022. My name's Jeffrey Lee. I'm Senior Recruiting Editor for Auburn Live on 3. If you're not a member of that site, you're absolutely missing out, and I'll tell you why. You'll find out in the next hour and a half, actually. I am joined tonight. Is it caught up? Is my screen caught up?
Oh, it's like delayed. It's like
Oh, really?
Like
Okay, here we go.
Yeah, you're like Max Headroom.
Let me close the.
It's a bad Godzilla movie. That's what's happening right now.
Okay, I think we're good. We're good now.
You're back.
We're good now. All right, where was I?
How about you, everybody?
How about you, everybody? Let's start over, man. We are live. How about you, everybody? Welcome into the Auburn Live call-in show. I am your host, Jeffrey Lee, Senior Recruiting Editor for Auburn Live on 3. If you're not a member of that site, you're absolutely missing out. $25 for an entire, I shouldn't say that, $25 until the next football season. And then, man, we're going to have a lot of stuff to cover over the next football season. Going to have a great show for you tonight. I'm absolutely sure of it because we got some of the greatest fans and callers and commenters in the world, in the absolute world, and joining me to talk it all, to answer all your questions, to talk about your comments, to discuss Mr. Keith Niebuhr, Mr. Jhead, and Mr. Coaching Search Czar himself, Mr. Justin Hokeson. What's up, fellas?
What's going on, man?
How about you, Keith?
How about you?
How about you?
This is the best part. Jhead and I usually get the blow bait for like 20 minutes straight. But now we got Justin here. We can just kind of take naps and let him do all the heavy lifting tonight.
I'll tell you what, man.
Get to it, Justin, if you don't mind. Let's go. Let's get cracking here.
Not many people have. Listen, I don't follow anybody else, but I read. But Justin has been at the forefront of this coaching search. And I'm being honest with you. Was it earlier last week, Sunday, that those 48 hours from Sunday to Tuesday? Justin told us this. It was going to be absolutely crucial. And it was so much fun to read that and then see how it played out throughout the week. Mm-hmm. You heard all the buzz Sunday and Monday, and it was Lane Kiffin and Tuesday, and then it just slowly died down. And we said on the modcast, this kind of lines up with what we'd expect, right? For the number one guy in those 48 hours, and then if in fact things were agreed upon or things went well with discussions, you would start to hear other names pop up. You would hear the Lane Kiffin stuff start to die down. He still had two games to coach. And it kind of started adding up. And then by the end of the week, we're talking like, has no one asked Lane Kiffin about this? Because it was peak Lane Kiffin interest on Monday and Tuesday. He has his press conference, his weekly press conference, and they're asking him about how much cold weather gear he's taking to Arkansas. Finally, after the Arkansas loss on Saturday, and an Ole Miss beat didn't even ask him the question. A national guy had to come in and ask the question to Lane about the Auburn job. And let me read it to you. Fair question, he said. Like I said, I love being here. And I want to get y'all's reactions to his quote from that. I thought it was very telling, and I actually addressed it on the board. I said, man, if I'm an Ole Miss fan, I'm not feeling too optimistic about that. But he said, fair question. I love being here. I mean, I don't want to look to next year already with a regular season game remaining, but this is not one of those years where you say we're going to lose all these guys. There's a lot of people coming back and a lot of new guys offensively especially. So, very excited about the future. I don't know that stuff out there, me being the number one target and all that. Maybe if they watched the first half, I wouldn't be number one anymore. So, what was your take, Justin, on that quote from Lane Kiffin?
Well, I guess a couple things. I mean, one, reportedly he's got an extension on his desk, and that's all we've heard from that. So that's interesting, number one. Normally you would hear Lane Kiffin agrees to extension. You wouldn't hear extension offered. Crickets.
Right. That was the news, that he was offered the extension, not that he agreed to it.
Right, which normally you'd be like, it'd be agreed to. That's what you would have heard.
Like Mark Stoops.
So I don't know Lane Kiffin well enough to like read into the statement other than it wasn't anything that would change any in terms of how I think, where he stands about Auburn or anything like that. I mean, he talked about the team, being good next year. He said he doesn't want to look ahead much. Honestly, I think the fact that he kind of joked about the being number one, like my first gut reaction to that is deflection. That's my first gut reaction to humor in that way is kind of a deflection. I'm like, well, maybe I wouldn't be number one after that first half. Like that sort of feels like a way to be funny and not address it.
Giving him the old okey doke. Look over here.
Like, you would have heard like, hey, I have no idea. Like, I don't know. Why would I know where I am on their search? I have no clue. Like, I'm the coach here, whatever it was. But the kind of humor sounds like a deflection. But then again, I don't know him that well. But the bottom line is, it would have been a great chance to say whatever. I mean, he could have. You can say whatever until you agree to extension. It doesn't matter. He could have been a lot firmer. He wasn't. And if he indeed has an extension and it's just sitting there, that says a lot too. So nothing's really changed in terms of how I think he's viewing Auburn, where I think Auburn stands. You've heard some different names pop up over the last few days. James Franklin. Of course, you're going to hear his name. He's a Sexton client. Like if you're a Sexton client and your name isn't mentioned, you might as well bank on that. So, but I haven't heard anything to defer us to veer us away from Lane Kiffin right now. So,
I think if you're an Auburn fan, you go, that's exactly what you would think he would say if, in fact, the reports coming out earlier last week were, in fact, true. And you've seen a lot of backpedaling from some of the Ole Miss beat. Jhead, real quick I wanted to get your thoughts on that quote. Him replying to that question the way he did.
First, his daddy, Jimmy Sexton, is very proud with that answer because he's earning money either which way on that one. Very Tubervillian in his responses as far as that's concerned. That takes me back to circa 2006 and Tommy and his duck hunting, you know what I mean? And just kind of playing out the string a little bit. But I think it was pretty much a non-answer. Mm-hmm. He didn't deny the Auburn interest. He didn't deny that, you know what I mean, that Auburn may or may not have been in contact with his agent. He also didn't deny that there's the opportunity he could return to Ole Miss. I think he left both opportunities open as far as that's concerned, so he played it about as well as he could. And like Justin said, I don't know Lane Kiffin well enough. I'm not well-versed enough in kind of how he handles the media to say, yeah, that's a definitive statement in Auburn's favor, or, that's him just his way of saying he's staying at Ole Miss. I tell you this, and we talked about this on the Friday show. Chris Lowe wouldn't have name-dropped him if he wasn't on Auburn's board. That is his boy. That's the national guy that has the in with Lane Kiffin more than anybody else in the country. So the interest is real. I believe he's number one on the board, and we're just going to see how it all shakes out this week. I mean, I don't think anybody's going to know until we get probably – and I think Justin was the first to put this 24 hours after the Egg Bowl is probably the window. You're going to start to hear what's going to happen as far as that's concerned.
What a perfect time after the Egg Bowl, before the Iron Bowl. You're talking about some national PR for that Iron Bowl. Justin, you want to pipe in here?
Well, yeah. So on this, because I was thinking about this today, and it seems like so we're just talking about the Lane, the hypothetical, and if Lane's the guy, could you announce him on Friday? Could you slip him in the CBS broadcast on Saturday, and just get a bunch of pub from that? And that's been like a popular, I think, sentiment from people like, oh, that'd be perfect. That'd be a perfect scenario. And it would be, except for I just want to pose this question. Is there any hesitance to doing something like that? If Lane's your guy, if you can make that happen, is there any hesitance to doing that because it might take away from the players and the staff and Cornell Williams going into the hour? If you did that, you pretty much are taking Cornell's not going to be talked about on Friday. It's not going to be talked about on Saturday. It's maybe his only chance to ever coach the Iron Bowl, and it would be Lane Kiffin the whole time. And I just
completely agree.
If there's some thought to, hey, while that would be great pub, it would certainly overshadow the job Cornell's done the last 3 weeks. What if it's a close game? Like, well, they should be talking about Cornell in that game. Like, so that would be my only hesitation about taking some shine off of what he's done.
I completely agree, Justin. Zach, we're going to get to the call real quick. I think maybe on Friday you hear some leaks, but I don't think an official announcement comes until Sunday or Monday. I don't think Auburn does that to Cadillac and to this team. So I wouldn't be surprised if Friday we start seeing a lot of smoke and maybe some reports are confirming that. I don't know. But I feel like no official announcement is going to come until Sunday or Monday.
I think the report would probably be Lane Kiffin has not signed his extension. That's probably what you would hear on Friday.
Okay.
On Sunday, it would probably be, okay, things have ramped up.
Okay.
Monday, Tuesday, you have an actual announcement with Lane Kiffin. I think that's kind of how it's going to play, Jeffrey, is the first.
That sounds good.
He hasn't signed his extension because everybody's going to want to know on the Ole Miss beat, where are we at with the extension? You've had it now for over a week. Are you going to leave? That'll be the first murmur there with whether or not that has transpired. And if that doesn't take place, well, then we know something's up.
Couldn't you get Lane Kiffin? Sorry, Jeffrey. Couldn't you get Lane Kiffin to send out a tweet at 2:29 Central Time? War Eagle.
If he could save it, he would.
I mean, it's going to distract. I guess you have to just weigh the pros and cons. Okay, it's a distraction, a little bit of a distraction. You're a heavy underdog anyway. And also, do you lose anything by waiting a couple days? You probably don't lose much waiting from Friday to Sunday.
No, you don't.
Frankly. No. But you don't want to go. I mean, look, if it's done, it's done. If it's somebody else, it's somebody else. But anyway, that would be my feeling on that.
Zach, get us rolling, man. Pop that seal. Everybody get your calls in, 701-779-9585. Zach, who we got?
5411. You're live. Who we talking to? Where are you calling from?
What's going on, fella?
Anthony.
Hey, this is Big Pat.
That's what I said. Big Pat. What's up, Big Pat?
What's going on with you, man?
Nothing much, Big Pat. How's tailgating going for you?
Ooh, I decided to, this year I decided to hang it up this year. But...
Good. I don't blame you. I don't blame you. I gave it up when I was 24.
Yeah.
Well, Big Pat, what's on your mind tonight, big dog?
Can y'all believe it's Iron Bowl already?
No.
Man, this season has flew by. So
it has.
Realistically, if Cadillac does, pull up the upset in Tuscaloosa, how much of a consideration would he get? Or
None.
is it all a done deal?
Yeah. Does anybody disagree that Cadillac has 0% chance to be Auburn's next head coach?
I think the only way that ever becomes a factor is if something is not already done with the head coaching candidate of the president and the AD's choice. If this were a situation where our number one backed out, our number two declined, and you start to spiral a little bit, I don't think that's going to happen, but that's the scenario that I believe that Cadillac, where the appetite for him might actually be in play. But it would have to be a situation that is completely and utterly a nightmare scenario for the AD, for John Cohen, where 1, 2, 3 all drop off the board, and now where are we at?
Big Pat,
less than 5%. I'd be like, well, less than 5%.
Yeah,
maybe less than that.
Big Pat, thanks for the call, big dog. I was kind of wanting to address that, and dude, I think Cadillac would be the first one to tell you. But I will say this: he's got some backers, but I think he would be the first to tell you that he's not ready.
Well, when you've only been an assistant at the Power 5 level for 4 years, that's just not a lot of experience, and all of that experience has been at Auburn. So your exposure to various coaching styles, philosophies, everything that you're going to need to kind of formulate your thoughts as a head coach, that well-rounded view. Yes, he's got time in the NFL around some really great guys, but there's just a lot missing there.
I think the better question is, Justin, is Cadillac Williams the first guy you retain from this staff?
He better be.
Absolutely.
I don't see. I mean, it's a weird thing, right? Because whoever this coach is going to, if it's Kiffin, one of the big things with him, from what I understand, is he wants Nick Saban type control. Yeah. I mean, that's like whatever they've got in place, that's literally what he's asking for. Like whatever that looks like, that's what he's saying. I want that. So obviously that's hiring and firing. So how does it play when it's like, hey, but hey, like right off the bat, but I would hope that doesn't need to be said. I would hope that's just one that whoever the coach is looks at that and goes, great running back, All-American, NFL running back, and what he's done, the way he's endeared himself to the people, and maybe more importantly, think about how Carnell in these last 3 weeks and now the last month has raised his own profile as a recruiter. I mean, if you retain Carnell, you're not retaining the same Carnell Williams that you had a month and a half ago.
Great point.
He's raised his profile so much through all that. Now, I mean, you're talking about now. This is a guy that can walk into places. Not that he already couldn't, but just more so now. They're gonna be. I saw the clips of him, man, walking out of the tunnel. Or I saw that clip of him that went viral doing this. Like, you're getting a dude who's raised his profile a ton. You're getting a better version of Carnell Williams. Now he's coached a team for a month. You're getting a much better version of Carnell Williams. To me, it's a no-brainer.
No-brainer.
Well, the one thing you got to look at is potential candidates. Are they tied at the hip with any running backs coaches? So
I was looking at Derek Nix.
So right now we think
he's the wide receiver coach there.
Yeah, we think that.
He is?
If Lane Kiffin is in fact the number one target and the favorite to land the job. So who's his running backs coach? It's
he is, dumbass.
It's Markel Harrell, who just, I believe, joined his staff.
It's Markel Blackwell, right?
Markel Harrell signed with Auburn in 2011.
That's my Pete Sanchez. Markel, the former USF quarterback down in Tampa. Very good player, was a very good high school coach down in Tampa as well. But I don't think they're joined at the hip, quite frankly.
No.
I don't think
he's the Holgerson guy.
Now, he may love him, don't get me wrong, but I don't think it's a thing where, hey, this is my guy. I've been with him for 8 years. He's got to come. I mean, I don't know. And also Blackwell, not Harrell, Markwell Blackwell might be a guy that could coach other positions too if he did want to bring him. Like, he's a guy that played quarterback in college. He's been an offensive coach at the high school level, head coach at the high school level. So he could probably coach receivers too or something else. If it's Lane and he identifies that as the guy who wants to bring. So I think if it's Lane Kiffin, you have to feel pretty good about Cadillac's chances as well. And also the other thing is he, as a new coach, you have to ask yourself, is this guy that I'm replacing, this interim coach, could he be a divisive figure in the locker room? And we know he wouldn't be.
No, he wouldn't. He wouldn't be. Somebody asked me that though, and I was like, "That's an interesting angle." They said, "Well, what about? He's so beloved."
That's right.
And I was like, "Well, like you keep him involved. Does that in any way undercut the new head coach in terms of him saying, I got a guy on here that maybe is more beloved and respected than I am? Is there a threat? It was an interesting angle to at least think about because you don't know how that new guy's going to."
I mean, Cadillac's first love is Auburn, right?
Yeah.
So
anybody but Cadillac, and I could see that concern.
I think that he would meet with the new coach and say, "Okay, how are we going to figure this out?" And then Cadillac would get the players, and if Cadillac showed affection and respect toward the new coach, they're going to fall in line with that.
Leader. Yep.
Well, and what I would say is, number one, to that question, it depends on who the head coach is, right? Like if it's Lane Kiffin, I think he's got a big enough ego that that's not going to bother him. I mean, I think if you walked in with somebody that's very junior in their head coaching career, not as substantiated enough where they would feel as though they were threatened, that might be a real concern. I don't feel like that's a concern with Kiffin or a large majority of other targets that are on our board as far as that's concerned. Should we not land Lane Kiffin? With regard to Blackwell, he's a Dana Holgerson guy. He's been with Dana from West Virginia to Houston. He just got on Lane's staff this past year. He was actually a replacement for Lane's guy, Kevin Smith, who's down at Miami now, who came up with him from FAU. So I think the timing is right for Carnell to be retained. And one other thing with regard to recruiting, this is the guy in recruiting right now who's talking to every recruit that Auburn is on. That is huge for you when you're talking about trying to land some of these kids in this class. If you're going to retain one person, let it be the person that's talking to everybody, not just one position group, the person that's talking to every position group right now. That just gives you an in with everybody. So I think it would be a really great play on whoever the next head coach's part is to retain Carnell Cadillac Williams.
Zach, you got us. All right, keep us rolling.
5810, you're live. Who we talking to? Where are you calling from?
Good afternoon, fellas. Anthony from Montgomery.
There he is. What's up, Anthony? What's on your mind tonight, big dog?
What's up, man? Hey, first I want to give you guys a shout out for all the great content you guys are putting out.
Appreciate that, man.
Keep us informed. You guys keep the hard work up.
Thank you, Anthony. We appreciate you, big dog.
Also, my gut is telling me if it's not Kiffin, it's going to be James Franklin. If you listen to what Owen said that he's looking for, James Franklin checked all the boxes. I don't know how I feel about it, but I'm telling me if that Kiffin thing fall through, it's going to be James Franklin. I don't know what's telling me that, but my gut telling me that.
I will tell you this, Anthony. What I was told when we initially had an opening, where there were 3 criteria, and obviously, our athletic director has his own 56-point criteria that he's looking at. But I was told straight off they wanted somebody with SEC experience. They wanted somebody that was been a program builder, somebody that was a recruiter. James Franklin does fit that criteria. Now, I do not think he's to play, and I don't think if it's James Franklin, it's because he's trying to reset the clock some. But I just don't see it.
Anthony, you know what? I think Jimmy Sexton wants you to think that.
Yeah. Penn State's a parallel program in the Big Ten where there's plenty of resources and plenty of money. I don't see him leaving another top 15 program to come to Auburn. That's just my gut telling me that.
Like who I don't understand I don't know who would be the second choice. Like Freeze is so much in the air. Like who do we turn to it?
That's actually, we're losing you, Anthony. But I appreciate your call. We're going to keep that going. Justin, if it's not Lane Kiffin, who you got?
Yeah, and that's an important discussion that I think people need to just sort of, be open to. I mean, until Lane Kiffin is the guy, don't get so far down the path that if Lane Kiffin isn't the guy, that you view everything else as a disappointment, because I don't think that's the case. I actually think Auburn's in position to hire a good football coach. There's any of the options that I've heard, honestly, would probably be better than what you came up with 2 years ago. So, you might have a guy you want, but I think there's some good, whether it's Luke. I mean, we've heard Luke Fickell, we've heard James Franklin, we've heard Dabo Swinney, we've heard Jeff Grimes, Sonny Dykes, any of those
Dan
guys.
Lanning.
Now, they might not be your first choice. I get it. But none of those are bad. Dan Lanning are bad. Grimes is probably the one you're like, not head coaching experience. I don't know what to think about that. But it's a lot of good head football coaches. I'm just saying. But I think that's the big question now is who is behind Kiffin? I don't know. I wrote today, I don't know that answer. Is Hugh Freeze in there? Yes. I don't know that he's number 2. I haven't gotten anything firm enough to say that he's number 2 or not. I don't even know the extent of how often he's spoken with Cohen. I don't know. I'm just not sure. Franklin, Dabo, those guys there's some discussions that have been had, but how realistic are those? How legit are those? I don't know. Luke Fickell, I think, is probably in the mix, maybe more than we think. Dan Lanning, I counted him out, and as of right now, I do. But who's to say Auburn doesn't lose Kiffin and go, all right, forget this. Let's go back after Dan Lanning and let's offer him what I don't know if they could. I mean, so I don't know where they go if it's not Kiffin. I mean, maybe only Cohen knows that. But if these guys are reaching out, then it shouldn't be something that drags on. That's for sure. I mean, it's not like you're resetting the search. I mean, you should there's a group of guys there that clearly are interested. So it'd be turn the clock, turn pivot or whatever, and go after whoever it is and lock them up in a few days. But I don't know who number 2 or number 3 is right now, but I do still think Auburn is in pretty good position to get a good football coach. And so far, I like John Cohen and how he's going about it. No complaints. I haven't heard any complaints from people I've talked to. So, for right now, I don't have any doubt that he'll go get something done. I just he won't hire a guy just going back to the Carnell thing real quick. That's just not – John Cohen's not going to come in and his first hire is going to be, it's going to be a splash.
A 4-year assistant.
It's going to be a splash. Whether it's, whoever it is. Maybe it is a shocker and it's James Franklin. But that's still a big splash. Cohen's not coming in here to mess around. He wants this hire to be legitimate hire. I mean, there's no question about that. That's why Jeff Grimes – once Cohen was hired, Jeff Grimes to me fell way down the possibility list.
If you make a splash hire and it doesn't work out, at least people say, well, he went out and got the hot guy. It just didn't work out. But if you kind of put your neck out on the limb, for that kind of hire, a hire that's that's seen more as a risk. If that guy doesn't work out, then you're probably losing your job.
Like Brian Harsin.
Well, if Lane Kiffin doesn't work out, you might not lose your job. He was the hot guy.
Yeah.
You know? But if you hire Jeff Grimes and it doesn't work out, he'll be leaving and you'll be leaving with him.
Right.
One caveat to that, Keith.
Well, go ahead. Let's see. Hold on.
One caveat. Yes, you got the hot guy, but on what contract? And are you in a Jimbo type situation? Now, that could get him whacked if that's the case. But
of course, Jhead got Jimbo on him.
Well,
man, I tell you.
Hey,
take a jab there.
The next head coach of West Virginia University, Jimbo Fisher.
Could be.
Got the hot rumor right now.
Hey, Zach, before we get to the next call, if you're looking for a house in or around Auburn, Opelika area, Lee County, Alabama, give Jessica Andrus a call at eXp Realty, 334-704-4442. We all have agreed she's a 5-star, an all-3 consensus 5-star realtor. Investment properties, residential housing. She can sell your house as good as anybody. Even a little better if you ask me. Jessica Andrus, 334-704-4442. Tell her we sent you. Zach, keep us rolling.
6848. You're live. Who we talking to? Where you calling from?
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Bryce from Beulah calling.
Bryce from Beulah.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Nothing much, Bryce. What's on your mind tonight?
Two quick ones tonight. I just want to talk a little basketball recruitment, if you guys didn't mind.
Sure.
Just kind of looking at the roster. We pretty much have 4 seniors coming off, right? Al, Jalen, Stretch, and Zepp. We signed 1 in Aiden. So do you think just kind of coming into next year, we're just kind of looking at maybe hitting the portal to go find some shooters to kind of fit that 2-3-4 kind of stretch role? And then I guess the second one would be how we kind of looking as far as 24 is going. You know, Ace Bailey, I know we're probably in a pretty good spot there.
Peyton Marshall.
A couple other guys. So thanks, guys.
I appreciate your call, Bryce. That's the good stuff. Is Alan Flanagan a senior?
Well, he's a senior, but he's got a
COVID year.
Him and Jalen Williams both. And so I think there's a little bit of unknown as to what they're going to do. I would hesitate to say that they're coming back. I mean, I honestly think they'll probably both try to go pro, whether that means playing in Europe and or maybe using that COVID year elsewhere. But I just don't see either one coming back as of today. Now, Justin may feel completely differently there. Jay Lee, you may have different information.
God bless Alan Flanagan. I can't. I'm not sure he makes it another year at Auburn. If he makes it this year, that'll be a pleasant surprise. So.
Here's what I can tell you, Bryce. They signed Aiden Holloway. Anything further, they're going to wait and see because there's a lot of variables, as Keith likes to say, in the roster in the 2023 roster. As I was told last week, they're going to be looking in the portal for a shooter.
Yep.
And beyond that, they really don't know at this point. The 2024 class, however, is expected to be fairly large as far as quantity and quality goes, and you've got studs all up and down their board. You mentioned Ace Bailey, LeBaron Filan, Peyton Marshall. Is Filan 23? No, he's 24. That's right. So they're in on a lot of studs for that 24 class. I'm excited to cover that class. It's going to be a lot of fun. They've already had all these guys in on visits. They're probably going to get them back. Who was the Flory Badunga 5-star kid was in last weekend, as well as who was the other one? Shit, I went and met him. Oh, Cam Scott.
Yeah,
Cam Scott. I mean, both of these guys, top 15 players in the country, and they've already visited on top of Ace Bailey, Peyton Marshall, LeBaron Filan. Those are five of the top, I think, 35 players in the country in that class. So, to me, man, covering Bruce Pearl's basketball recruiting I have to think that it's similar to covering Nick Saban or Kirby Smart's football recruiting. Like when you interview a 5-star guy, you know Auburn's got a legit shot, and that hasn't been the case in football in a long time, if ever. So looking forward to a big 2024 class. Going to keep an eye on that 2023 class, Bryce. See what happens after this season with who's leaving, who's coming back, and what they'll be looking for in the portal.
I think probably max 3 spots, Jeffrey, because you're looking at Stretch, Jalen, and Allen, I think, and you're already accounting for with Holloway replacing Zip right now. That's kind of the built-in replacements there. So probably max 3 guys, I would think.
In 2024.
Yeah. Well, not in 2024, in 2023. 2024, I have no clue, but I think it's going to be a huge class.
Yeah, there you go. Okay.
Because that all depends on what happens with Chance Westry and a handful of other guys.
Keep us rolling, Zach.
0177. You're live. Who we talking to? Where are you calling from?
Hey, my name is Jeremy Locke from Enterprise.
What's up, Jeremy?
Hey.
Hey, this is my first time calling, and I saw y'all's post, I think, last week, and I decided to start, checking in on y'all.
Well, we appreciate it, man. What's on your mind tonight, Jeremy?
Okay, I got 2 questions right quick I can ask y'all. If you get past Lane Kiffin and Hugh Freeze, realistically, what are the big splash names after that? Would James Franklin shoot up there because he's got SEC experience, even though it is Vanderbilt, and Vanderbilt is a hard team to really get to wins? Since he left Vanderbilt, Vanderbilt's fallen way down. So would he shoot up to maybe 3rd?
What's your second question, Jeremy? I'm going to get to that.
And my second question is what kind of quarterbacks are we looking at in this year's class once a head coach may come in like Lane Kiffin?
Justin, thanks, Jeremy. We appreciate your call from Enterprise, man. Hope this was the first of many. We appreciate you listening. Lane Freeze, James Franklin, fellas, dude, he just doesn't move the needle for me. I know he's a splash high or whatever. He probably would. To me, it's a big step down from that first tier.
That's not gonna move the needle for a lot of Auburn fans. Good coach, no denying that, but yeah, that's a tough one to wrap my head around, and I'm not sure that moves the needle. But seriously, I really don't know. I mean, I think that you just have to look at guys who I think Auburn reps have had some kind of contact with, and I would say Dabo, James Franklin, Luke Fickell, Hugh Freeze, Dan Lanning. I would say all those guys. So I don't know where you go. I mean, I really I don't know. And
do you think, Justin,
in the last few days, if it's Kiffin, let's say right now that you feel good, John Cohen's sitting there going, we feel good about Kiffin. Something changes, right? Then you got to go, okay, where are we at with these other guys? Are they all on pause right now? I don't know where you go if it's not him right now.
Do you think? And to me, that's one of the many tea leaves that I'm reading that leads me to believe Lane Kiffin. It's Lane Kiffin until it isn't.
Yeah.
And there are many more. Jeremy's second question, Keith, this is probably better for you. Quarterbacks, 2023 class. We talked about. We will talk about on Inside the 20 Monday morning. Auburn picked up a commitment Saturday, oddly enough, from Kewan Jenkins, 3-star quarterback from Miami Central, and he decommitted from Florida International, committed to Auburn. He is not somebody you're going to build a class around, and I don't know that. Keith, correct me if I'm wrong. It's going to depend on who the new head coach is, what he wants, what he's looking for.
It's a really good question, but one we don't have a specific answer to it. But we will say this, and this was pointed out to me last week when I talked to people that worked for Lane Kiffin. He can win with a variety of different quarterbacks. Okay, he had West Coast offense quarterbacks. He had under center guys. He's had guys that are more dual threat guys in the last few years. So.
Jalen Hurts.
That's right. So that makes it a little harder. The good news is he's proven he can have success with all these guys. The hard part of that is trying to identify where he would go. Now, Ole Miss has a quarterback committed right now. Would he want to go poach that guy, or would he say, well, that guy's pretty good, but Auburn has a different kind of need, let's say.
Do you think he would make a run at Brock Glenn?
Well, yeah, I don't know why he didn't make a run. Was he heavily involved with Brock Glenn the first time? So,
right up the road too in Memphis.
Different logo on his chest if he's at Auburn than at Ole Miss. So it's a great question. Now he went way out west to get Jackson Dart, right? Who transferred a portal guy. I think what you'd see is if it's Lane Kiffin, bringing in one, maybe even two quarterbacks, I think two, from the portal, and probably try to grab somebody early, maybe flip somebody. I don't think there's a ton of great uncommitted quarterbacks out there. So my guess is he'd probably try to identify who's the most flippable guys. And so there's going to be other coaching changes. There's going to be other dominoes. Coaches are the first ones, usually to fear of things. So they may know that the OC at Pitt, let's say, or the OC at NC State or whatever's leaving. So let's go see if that quarterback's interested. But who? Couldn't tell you. I just know that he's won with every type of quarterback now, pretty much, except for like an option quarterback, obviously. But that's good. That lends itself to limitless possibilities, quite frankly.
Who did he have at Tennessee?
At Tennessee, who was his quarterback? Was it
Ainge.
It wasn't
Ainge.
Eric Ainge?
No. Didn't he have didn't he take somebody and
Or was it Jonathan Crompton?
I think it was Crompton. It was somebody that he elevated somebody now. Dang it.
What year was he there? I'm going to look it up right now. 2009.
2009.
Yeah, 2009.
Yeah, if we're talking high school quarterbacks this year, I think you got to start with the one that's committed to Ole Miss in Marcel Reed. I think that's probably who you want to look at first and foremost because Charlie Weiss Jr. has a built-in relationship there.
We just don't know if they feel like that guy would fit what the other players they have returning at Auburn is. That's what we don't know. There's all kinds of variables.
And I don't disagree, Keith. You're spot on. I've watched that kid's film. I think he absolutely fits potentially with what Kiffin would want to do at Auburn. But like you said, that boils down to staff and needs and everything else. But I'm with you. You absolutely need a veteran. You need a veteran from the portal for sure to compete with Rodney.
I think go ahead, Zach. Jonathan
Crompton was his quarterback.
Hey.
Ainge's last year, I think it was 2007, so a couple
And
years.
he had a good year. I mean, he got better that 09 season. Like he did good. I mean, when it comes to quarterbacks, Jonathan Crompton, Blake Sims, Jake Coker. I mean, Kiffin took some quarterbacks that you're like, and put up some sick numbers with those guys.
And interestingly enough, Lane Kiffin heavily recruited a transfer quarterback that's on Auburn's roster right now. Now, he didn't play this year, but he was heavily recruited by that staff.
Calzada?
Huh?
Calzada?
You got it. Maybe he thinks he could do something with that. I don't really know. It'll all depend on what happens when he gets here.
Interesting, because my question to everybody, and we've talked about this, I was going to shoot this at Justin. Do you think Auburn's starting quarterback in 2023 is on the roster right now?
I don't. And I think there are a lot of guys out there.
What did you say, Justin?
That's hard. I don't know who's going to be out there. If there's a legit transfer portal quarterback, I would give Lane a pretty good chance of landing him given the circumstances. And then I think that changes. I will say, if you think about what he's done, give Robbie a year. Holden Gerner is a kid that obviously has promise. It's not a complete, lost cause on the roster now. Like there's some pieces. I'd go get the best you can, but I would be curious to think what could he do with, Robbie. I don't know, Matt Corral kind of slinging it around. Matt Corral was a baseball player, right? Didn't he play? Well, he was a similar type of athlete.
Sure.
But I would doubt it. I would have to think he's going to go land an absolute stud transfer quarterback.
Yeah.
People are going to say, well, who's in the portal? Well, I got news for you. If it's known that he wants a quarterback, then people will get in the portal. That'll be. It's not a chicken and an egg thing. They won't wait. People will see that situation over. In fact, we all know, we've talked about this off camera. There are quarterbacks out there that are already making calls, family members, representatives, to people in the Auburn area to see what the quarterback situation is going to be like. They're already doing their homework, okay?
Well, there's quarterbacks on Auburn's roster that are doing the same thing.
That's right.
So it's happening. Yeah.
Yes, the Lord giveth, the Lord taketh. It's
multiple.
But and the fact that he's had success with all types of quarterbacks, he's gone into the portal and he's had success with guys. He's gone to programs and won with the guys left there. That gives him a lot of credibility just in terms of recruiting people. My guess is they'll flip somebody late and they'll add two guys in the portal. That's my guess. Now that's because that gives you three just in case everybody else leaves. Okay.
Fair.
And then we don't know what he's going to do with Kewan Jenkins, the quarterback from Miami Central who committed over the weekend. That would give you four if you add another one and then two in the portal. I think you can get two in the portal. Now, they won't – maybe it might be a situation like one of them is just a guy that knows he's coming in to be a second or third stringer, but you're going to have bodies, okay? But I think he's going to go out. They will, if it's him, of course. This is all the big caveat.
Right.
But I think he's got enough credibility where people are going to seek out him as much as he's.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And with the exception of Dan Lanning, I think most of our targets are offensive-minded head coaches. Am I wrong on that, Justin? I would say besides Lanning and Fickle, the large majority are offensive-minded head coaches.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Dabo, Freeze, Lane,
Franklin,
James Franklin.
Sonny Dykes.
Stoops, I missed
Sonny Dykes.
Stoops getting that extension. Not that I kind of left him on the board just because I just didn't really want to completely take him off, but he wasn't ever he hasn't really been in consideration for a while. But now that he signed that extension, by the way, he'll
Hey, Jimmy got him on your list so he could get that extension.
There you go.
Hey, Zach, keep us going, big dog.
Hey, I've got by the way, just for funny, I've texted Jimmy. He hasn't responded.
All right. Hey, slide into those DMs, big dog.
I totally got his number, and I texted him, and he hadn't responded. Shocked. Totally
Fair enough. Hey, that's what a good reporter does. You got to ask the question.
I'm trying.
Hold this.
9107. You're live. Who we talking to? Where are you calling from?
Hello, fellas. This is Echo from Lake Wales, Florida.
What did you say your name was?
I don't know. They're from Lake Wales, Florida. That's
Yeah.
County, just outside of Lakeland. Got former Auburn commit Janoris Wilson from down there.
8237. You're live. Who we talking to? Where are you calling from?
What's up, fellas? It's the Crawdad, man.
Crawdad!
What's going on, guys? Hey, let me apologize. If my 2-year-old butts in. She's running around right now, highly active. But let me say, man, I'm super proud of Cadillac and what he's done with Auburn. I think with the last head coach, we don't win that ball game on Saturday. I think the way he's utilized the strength of our team, which is running the ball. I think it was just a minute to tweet this out that it was 700 something yards in the past 3 games rushing by this team. I think it says a statement of what he wants to do. Now, I don't think it's going to help him next weekend.
No.
But I do like what he's done. I like the message he sends. And I hate to see him go, but if that is the case, what do you guys think?
I completely agree. Hey, I want to give a big how about you to freaking Will Friend.
Yes, sir.
I think he has been calling a fantastic and Jeff Schmedding. But mostly Will Friend, man. I really like what he's done. And Cole's gonna get on my butt because I was complaining about the toss sweep to the boundary. And I thought of you, Jhead, when Tank took it, or was it Jarquez? Hell, both
Tank.
of them.
Yeah, both of them did.
But hey, Carl, I appreciate the call, man. As far as Carnell,
absolutely, bro.
Listen, we talked about this earlier. The biggest thing, the best thing the new coach can do to adore himself to the Auburn fan base is say, I want that guy right there on my staff. He's going to be my running backs coach. Hell, give him the assistant head coach title.
Mm-hmm.
Show some loyalty for him to the fan base, and really make it. To me, that's the best thing a new coach could do. The worst thing they could do is say, "Hey, man, we appreciate Carnell Williams' contributions to the program, but we've decided to move on." That's the worst thing a head coach can do. I think Justin said it best. You better keep his ass. Oh, Jhead, what are you doing? Are you about to say something? Are you about to play devil's advocate?
No, what I'm going to say is if he does it the right way, if he comes in and makes an immediate decision and says, I appreciate Carnell Williams, he's a fantastic representative of Auburn University, but I need the versatility to bring in guys that I want on my staff. I think that's handling it the right way, and it would be salvageable.
Salvageable, yes. Maybe.
I think if you string it out like T. Will got treated during the Harsin situation, that would cause a lot of blowback. So while it's not ideal for Cadillac Williams not to be on the next staff, I do think it is salvageable if you do it the right way. But you got to handle it the right way. It is a very, very, very delicate situation.
Appreciate you.
He's a likable guy. I'm sorry, were you done, Jhead?
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't think there's any – I think it's going to be an easy choice, to be honest with you. He's a non-divisive figure who's pretty much universally liked, not only amongst people like us, the fans, but other coaches, quite frankly. The question a coach is going to have to say
recruits.
Yes. Is this guy, if I'm the new head coach, does he have the experience and the coaching acumen that I need at that position? Well, that's kind of the one position group where you bring in that receivers coach, where you're bringing in a lot of the youngest guys anyway.
Right.
And so he's fine. I think I'd be surprised if he's not retained, quite frankly.
And I'm with you. My whole thing is we know how when staffs are starting to get put together and you make promises to guys, if he's already promised somebody, hey, I've got a spot for you, that becomes a really hard situation.
I think the people that are in the interview process, Justin would know more of this, but I'm saying the coaches that they've talked to, we don't know how many they've talked to. I think they're well aware of the situation. I think that they are following Auburn and they know what's going on at Auburn. And I think that there would be no shock. They understand. In fact, I think that, let's put it that way. I think they would be, does that make any sense? I think they know that this is going to happen probably.
And I think Cornell, worst case scenario, Cornell could help it. I mean, worst case scenario, this guy says, look, Cornell, there's this other guy, whatever. Mm-hmm. Cornell could also save the whole thing and just go, hey, you know what? First of all, Cornell could probably find another spot somewhere, but he could probably save it too and come out and go, hey, I love Auburn. This guy's coming in to run a program. I totally respect the decision, man. We're good. Auburn's going to be fine. Auburn's going to be awesome. If he says it, then everything's good. You know what I mean? Fans will be fine if he takes the high road. I just look at it like risk versus reward. What's the potential upside of getting your own running back coach in there over what Cornell brings versus the blowback from that, and to just starting off on that kind of foot? To me, it's like it's almost just not worth it. Like let it if you don't like him, man, get rid of him next year. Find a spot.
Absolutely.
Here's an
to me, it's a no-brainer, Justin.
Here's an interesting question. So T. Will, even if he would have stayed, a few months later that USF job opened, or a few weeks later, and he ended up leaving Miami as a position coach.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
He might have left anyway, by the way.
He would have.
Question though, if you're like if you're a school like USF, let's say, do you give Cadillac Williams a call?
Yeah.
He's not just.
Oh, you're talking about for head coaching job?
That's right. He's not just a legend at Auburn. He's not enough experience.
No.
For him.
I forgot who it was posted earlier, but Cadillac was a 5-hour energy drink. It's not. I thought that was as bad as that sounds. As for a head coach, I think that's about right. I think he would at least at Auburn. I don't know about elsewhere.
Is he going to need to go cut his teeth somewhere else? And
yes.
To hope to go back to Auburn.
If he wants to be a head coach, yes.
Yeah. Sometimes I feel like, and that's the other thing about naming Cornell the interim. I wasn't in that discussion, but you go back. Cornell was surprised he was named interim. Okay.
Yeah. Shocked.
That tells you a little bit about his mindset. He's openly talked about how scared he was, which is awesome humility, but it's another indicator of his mindset of like, what you want me to do? What? And so
right.
He has probably a really good view. And I also wonder, I don't know, this is just speculation, but when you're talking about Zach's right there as assistant head coach, Zach's probably further along, but he didn't get it. Why was that? Like, to me, the wonder was, hey, Cornell's further away. If he gets a few losses on his record, who cares? Does he even care? Does Cornell even want to be a head coach right now? Like it was almost in no way to be a bad situation for Cornell. If they went 0-4, nobody would care. If like Cornell's not about to be a head coach,
right?
So going 0-4 doesn't matter. Like versus you tag that onto Zach or somebody else. I just wonder if they talked to Cornell and said, hey, like we know you're a ways away. This would be good for you. What if he already knows? What if they already told him, hey, what if that's freeing him up to speak the way he is and to do the things he's doing? I don't know that they haven't already told him, hey, Cornell, kill it. We're going to look for a different guy, and we're going to do everything we can to make sure you stay. Like, I mean, I don't even know that hadn't been told to him. I don't know.
He has absolutely raised his profile. There's no question about that. I mean, 100%. And if he's not retained at Auburn, my guess is the next stop for him is in the NFL as a running backs coach there, and to continue his development on his coaching path.
Boy, he loves teaching these kids, man. You hear him say it, man. He is all about that, and got to respect that. And but to me, it's a no-brainer. He's back. Let's get to these last two calls. I've got a topic I want to talk about once we finish up with the call line, Zach.
2093. You're live. Who we talking to? Where are you calling from?
It's Jordan from Athens, Alabama.
What's up, Jordan?
Hey, just got a question. Deion Sanders, you really hadn't heard his name in a while since the beginning of this search, and even before Harsin got fired. And Charles Barkley, Bo Jackson come out. They vouched for him. They want him. Well, how would y'all feel, about a guy like Deion Sanders, or is there any smoke there? Like, if y'all heard anything, are they reaching out to him?
No.
Nothing. My stance on Deion going back probably 2 months has been the exact same, and that is there are people around Auburn that support him in terms of being a legitimate candidate. Hey, treat him legitimately. Give him an interview, maybe. Like, we think there's something there to explore, but that he would never be the head coach. And nothing's changed. I think there's people that would love to see him. Hey, give him a legit interview. Like, let's give him a hard look. But he's not going to get the trigger's not going to be pulled on him. And not really, it's not even about Deion and his charisma. He's head coach for a few years at Jackson State. That's it. Forget the Deion name. That's not what Auburn needs right now. Like, you've been to take the Deion name away. Head coach for Jackson State for 3 years. Like, and I know the recruiting side, but man, that's just Auburn's not in a place to gamble like that. I don't care if you're Deion, recruit, whatever. And I don't know what Deion's future is. What's he going to do in 5 years? What's Deion's next mission or goal? He came into it wanting to be HBCU. If he comes to Auburn, then what? Does he want to be at Auburn for 10 years? Does he want to go? I have no clue what his next mission and goal is. I think that would be – it's exciting for a couple years, but I don't think that's at all what Auburn needs to do or should do.
Justin, you just hit it. When I kind of asked around about that situation, I think there are people that love Deion. They love what he's doing at Jackson State. I mean, you have to when you see what he's done down there. But it's the unknown with him. Coaching in the SWAC versus by comparison to the SEC, it's just a different game at that level, and no one really knows what to expect if he were to be a head coach at this level. They're trying to avoid disaster here. And I think you pegged that on our call-in show once Brian Harsin was fired. They're trying to avoid the disaster hire. And I'm not saying that Deion would be, but with that level of
it's high risk,
proven commodity, you just don't know what's going to – all right, take this. This is what was told to me by a coach. What's going to happen when Deion loses 3 straight games? Because you're walking into Auburn. It's not a situation where – you know what I mean? You're going to walk in where you're dominating like you are at Jackson State. How are you going to handle that? What's the chemistry in the locker room going to be like? Who are you going to have on your staff? Do you have the Rolodex to bring in the kind of SEC recruiters that you need? There are just so many questions with Deion that I think that it's hard to get that conversation started with the people that are running this search. I do think that Deion is in line for a step up, and I believe he's going to get it, and I think it's going to be in a really large area where he's going to be able to maximize his brand. And if he takes off there, then you're going to see him at a big-time school, potentially Florida State.
Well, you saw what Barkley said? Did you see what Barkley said this week? Charles Barkley.
Yeah,
Charles Barkley said this week that the A&M was going to fire Jimbo Fisher and that they were going to go after Deion. That's what he hinted at.
I'd like to see it.
Yeah, he's
Charles is talking out of his ass. I love Charles, but he is talking out of his ass completely.
Listen, I think Deion. I was talking about the USF job earlier, about with Cadillac, just because he played. You know, I live 10 minutes from USF. Big city. It's got everything. It's off the topic here, but
Big City is the 33rd studio album by American country.
Tell Alexis we said hi.
Freaking Keith, man.
What in the world? I mean, so anyway.
Look how red his face is. Look how red his face is.
I mean, you say something and all of a sudden your computer starts talking to you.
Hey, days. Siri.
No, but where would Deion thrive? Tampa?
Yes.
Atlanta.
They're not in a big conference, but guess what? Deion can get them in a big conference. Urban Meyer, what he did at Utah led to them getting in the Pac-12. So what happens? Remember, it wasn't that long ago, guys, that USF was the bigger, more marketable school than UCF, and it just changed completely. A guy like Deion could do that again. But anyway, that's my 2 cents. USF should be the school going hard after him, and it would build a new stadium. They could be in a Big 12 within 2, 3, 4 years. We could change that program around, and it'd be great for him. Go 4 or 5 years, and then he gets his dream job.
That's the next step. I agree.
Yep.
I agree. Zach, last call. Make it a good one. Because we've had great ones to this point.
7254. You're live. Shutting down the show, man.
Yes, this is Clayton from Carrollton, Georgia.
What's up, Clayton?
Hey, how y'all doing?
What is on the tip of your tongue tonight, Clayton?
Well, I saw Bleacher Report post something about ranking the best head coaching job, and they had Auburn ranked as the 9th best job in the SEC. And I thought it would be cool to call in and have y'all come together and rank the best to worst SEC jobs.
Great call.
9th best?
Now I got to pull this up.
This is Andy Staples' conversation,
I thought
right?
it was ridiculous.
This was Andy Staples that did this, right?
What do you say?
This was Andy Staples that did that, right? Wasn't that his athletic podcast?
I didn't read the name who posted it. I just saw it was Bleacher Report that posted it.
Somebody needs to hold that idiot accountable.
Zach, can you put that
I thought it would be cool to call in and have y'all rank the best to worst
All right.
SEC job.
All right.
The second thing is I think Charles Barkley may have been talking about the Mississippi State surprise fire and had the Deion going there. But thank you for taking my call. Y'all have a good night.
Appreciate you, Clayton. Good call, man. Good one to go out on.
Yeah, Mississippi State.
Alabama, Georgia, 1 and 2. I don't think anybody would debate me on that.
No, I'd go Georgia 1, Alabama 2, just because of Georgia's resources and the talent in that state.
You got UJ, Bama. You going to put LSU?
I am.
At 3?
Most national championships beyond those two, or beyond Alabama. And the talent.
Let's see. Florida?
Now, quick question. Do we want to include Texas and Oklahoma in this debate since they're going to
Hell no.
Okay.
No. They got to earn their way into this discussion. We're going. Okay, now your next options are going to be Florida. I think Auburn is in there. Tennessee is in there. I think that's the next tier. Is A&M? I don't.
A&M because of the resources and where it's located, but the history tells you otherwise. The history should be some factor, right?
They don't know how to win, Keith. Period.
I've got Auburn, Florida, and Tennessee all above A&M,
and they all have national championships. They all. Here's the thing. I think
championships.
A&M has one 10-win season in the last 10 years. Is that right? Maybe 20 years. Manziel's season. That is the only 10-win season they had. And I hear people talk them up because of those resources and because of that money. Well, if you don't know how to institutionally win, who cares about the money? Jimbo Fisher's choking on it right now. Look, at the end of the day, either you're successful together, collectively, as an organization, or you're not. And unfortunately, for all the resources that they have been unsuccessful. And for that reason alone, I cannot put them above Florida, Auburn, or Tennessee.
Hey, and I wish I could read that story because I wonder if, what are we factoring in? Because the national narrative around Auburn and booster involvement, that is certainly playing a part in how national people have viewed Auburn in the past and are viewing it now. That's probably
sure.
I bet you that's part of the reason why somebody said they're 9th, because they're going, well, yeah, this is great and this is great, but look at what you have to deal with. That drops it down the list. And that's whatever. That's Auburn's history. It is what it is, and that's fair. It's fair to a certain degree. It's unproven at this point. I do think there's reason for optimism around that changing right now with Chris Roberts and John Cohen. I really do. We got to see it play out. As somebody asked, they were like, I told somebody, look, it's leverage. It can all change real quickly. I mean, if somebody in power, a booster, whoever, if something changes and they get a little leverage and they want changes to be made, then a little bit of leverage is all it's going to take for that power to switch and flip. I mean, it's not like it's in stone, but for now, I like where Auburn's aligned, and I think that you gotta chalk that up a little bit when you're looking at Auburn. I think it's potentially a new day, and I think that's really appealing for a head coach. I mean, I don't think that's being taken into account probably enough. As a new head coach is sitting here going, brand new president, brand new AD. Like, we are tied together. It's not like I'm coming in and this AD's been here for 6 or 7 years and he's pretty beloved. So if it doesn't work out with me, he'll probably be okay because he's kind of been here, done that. No. You're tied. You are. If I'm coming in, John Cohen and me are going to be like this, because if I don't work, it's going to be terrible for him. And I think there's a lot of positives in that for a head coach to say, new president, new AD, me, NIL, we're just boom. We're all in this at the same time together, trying to get something done. I think that's a big positive that probably isn't being talked about enough. People are just like, well, why do you want the boosters and da-da-da-da? I think there's a flip side to that.
Texas A&M has one 10-win season since 1999.
Yep, that's what I thought. One 10-win season in the last 20 years.
What was it, 12?
The Manziel season.
Yeah.
So you had a Heisman winner and you topped out at 10.
Yep.
I think Clayton, you've got UGA, Bama, LSU. I think your next tier of schools are going to be Auburn, Florida, Tennessee. I think A&M, Ole Miss, Arkansas, South Carolina, Mississippi State, Kentucky, Missouri, Vanderbilt.
South Carolina's one you want to put ahead of Arkansas, but history tells you Arkansas is a much better program than South Carolina. You want to put South Carolina higher because of the location. Big stadium, pretty passionate. You know, their fans will go to their games when they're 2-8.
Yeah, sure.
But they had that one little streak when Spurrier was there.
Yeah.
That's George Rogers, 79, 80, 81. But historically, they really haven't done a whole hell of a lot. You know what I mean?
I would say those are your three tiers. You've got that first tier, you got that second tier, and you got everybody else.
Yeah, and I think in that second tier, you got to have Florida number one in that. Just because
I think so. That's what I got. I got Florida, Auburn, Tennessee. Yeah, whatever. I can make a case for either one.
I think what Florida and Auburn have in common are those are the – I mean, Alabama to a certain degree, but Florida and Auburn are the two kind of meat grinder jobs.
Yeah.
That might be – they offer so much – but, man, there's a lot of challenges. You got Bama in the state. You got Florida State, Miami, and Georgia to the north. And they face a lot of the same hurdles, quite frankly, although Florida being the bigger state school probably has some more advantages than Auburn. But there's some parallels there. But, Auburn's a much better job than ninth in the SEC. I don't know who said that. I pulled up another one, had Auburn seventh behind just behind Texas A&M. And I think that's – you could live with that, but ninth doesn't make sense. I mean, you'd have to be factoring who was above them. Was it Kentucky? I mean, you know what I mean?
Oh, come on.
No, I'm saying who was above them. I mean, South Carolina. I mean, if South Carolina again, why haven't they won? Why hasn't Texas A&M won more?
And Justin was right. I saw that article, and it was the booster interference aspect of it, the rough landscape.
I don't care if you give a coach the option to coach at Auburn or South Carolina or any of those schools that finished above Auburn in that list. I promise you, a coach is not going to choose South Carolina, or Mississippi State, or Arkansas, or Missouri, or any of those other schools.
So, with all the wealthy people at Texas A&M, are you telling me none of them are involved?
Oh, right.
You know what I mean? Give me a break.
And it goes back to what Justin was saying. You don't think Alabama was involved before Nick Saban came in there and said, "Get the hell out of here"? That's what Lane wants to do. Hey, my concern with Auburn, awesome school, great tradition, perfect recruiting grounds. I'm not dealing with those boosters. So if I'm coming, they're out.
And that was a requirement for Saban. And look, like John Cohen will have to do for Lane Kiffin, Mal Moore did for Nick Saban.
There you go. Absolutely.
He was tethered to him.
Absolutely.
Ran interference, did what needed to be done to let Saban operate the way he so chose to. John Cohen would need to do the same thing for Lane Kiffin. I think he has the skill set to do that if Lane Kiffin is the choice.
And if you do that and things go off the rails, you just get right back in there and you take it away from them. That's it. It's not that complicated, quite frankly.
Right. Last thing from
he doesn't have any power anymore. I think Jimbo Fisher's figuring that out pretty quickly.
Last thing for me, and this kind of pertains to recruiting, and so let's say the new coach is named, next Monday, whatever at the latest, right? That's December Come on, folks. Everybody's got phones. December
28th.
November, I believe, isn't it?
Yeah, November 28th.
Damn, really?
Yeah.
It is. November 28th. That's what I said to begin with. All right, so you've got a full week before official visits start. Do you think any chance the new coach retains these assistants just until early signing day? Or do you think
there's a great chance?
As many as that want to stay there that don't find a landing spot.
So you don't think a full staff will be in place until New Year?
I think a full staff. I mean, the whole finalization of it will be probably after New Year. I could be wrong, but maybe between that first signing period to the second signing period in those few weeks. Remember, you got a couple weeks after Christmas where you can't have visitors.
Yeah,
and that's the perfect time to then.
The 21st, the dead period starts, and I don't think it opens back up until after the New Year. So my question was, do you think you keep a Rock Bellantoni just until signing day or shortly thereafter, just to get those kids signed that were going to come or that are going to come because of their relationship with him, their relationship with Christian Robinson or Jimmy Brumbaugh or anybody else like that, and you get them signed and then you make your moves?
Yes and no. Yes, if you already have a guy that you've got that's coming in.
Okay.
With you have a coach and he says, you know what, I can come right now. Let's get started on the future because those 3-4 weeks are critical. Other positions may not be as critical. I mean, it really depends on who the coach has targeted that can leave right now. Some of those guys may feel obligated at their current schools to finish it out through the first signing day, and some of them may be on NFL staffs, quite frankly. They may be in the playoffs. Who knows? You just don't. I think you just kind of figure it out as you go. But look, whoever the new head coach is going to be, he's going to have a list of guys. He's going to have his 1A guy, his 1 guys, his 1A guys, his 1B guys, and they'll figure it out. But I imagine it'll be kind of a hodgepodge of a staff through the first signing day, if I had to guess. That's the way it usually is.
And a lot of assistant contracts are written now to require guys to stay through the first signing period. They're contractually obligated to do so. So unless they have a guaranteed spot to go to, I foresee a lot of those guys staying in place. I mean, look at Brian Kelly last year with LSU. He got in early just like we're potentially going to do. And the large majority of that staff stayed in place. Guys like Blake Baker, who's now the defensive coordinator at Missouri, handful of other guys. I think Corey Raymond left early to go to Florida, if I remember right, because he got an offer from Napier. But largely that staff stayed together, recruited for LSU, and then after the early signing period, they all kind of started to go their own ways as more guys were added to the staff.
I hate that. I hate that for the kids.
If those assistants are honest with them and say, look, I don't know what my future is, but sell Auburn, I think it's okay, but I'm with you.
But if you get rid of all 10 assistants, let's say, or all 7 that aren't going to be retained, and you can't bring in your guys right now, you don't have enough bodies for official visits. You right. Don't, it's a no-win situation.
You keep the Rocks, you keep those guys, you bring those kids back from Central or South Florida, you let them meet the new head coach, you let them see his direction. You love Auburn already. You want to see what's going on. You don't know that he's going to be retained, but you feel comfortable enough. Is that your goal, to make these kids comfortable enough with this new head coach that whether I'm here or not, you're coming?
Yeah, I think you're selling the school at that point, Jeffrey. And if you're an assistant that's on that staff, it's twofold. A, you're working to be retained if you want to be.
Right.
And 2, you're working for a recommendation for where you're going to go next. Because if you flat out quit or don't help, you're not productive.
Doesn't look good on the resume.
Doesn't look good. And coaches talk 100%, especially the coaches that are involved in this search. They're all heavily connected. So don't think that they're not going to say, hey, man, this guy flat out quit on me.
Let me tell you who the most important hire is going to be. Let's just say, for argument's sake, if it's Lane Kiffin, the most important guy that he needs to hire quickly, or let it be known that that's going to be his guy, I think, is the defensive coordinator. Because no matter who the offensive coordinator is, people are just going to assume it's his offense. If Hugh Freeze is the guy, they're going to assume that too. So it's then imperative at that point to have a defensive coordinator in position or somebody on that defensive staff, a new guy that can explain to kids, this is what we're going to be running as an organization, as a program. Then your assistants that you keep that may not be kept long-term are basically just, they're kind of selling the school like Jhead said. And that coach that comes in with them early on can then sell the vision of what the defense is going to look like, because Lane is going to be the guy selling the vision of what the offense is going to look like. If it's Lane, if it's Hugh Freeze. Now, if it's Dan Lanning, it'd be the opposite. You know what I mean?
Last thing for everyone. Justin, you get us started. Confidence level and whom you think will be the next head coach. Who you think will be the next head coach?
Well, I said I'm not going to waver yet from what I said this week, which was somebody asked me 1 out of 10. I said 7.5. Trust me, I thought 7, and there was.
That's a running joke, folks. If you don't know.
It was not happening. So I'll stay at 7.5 with Lane Kiffin. I mean, I'll say this. If I was bold, like if I was really bold with it, 7.5. I'll put it this way: 7.5 for me in what I know and what I feel. I think I'm being conservative.
Okay.
I think I'm being a little bit conservative. I think I'm being more conservative than I am bold in that statement towards Lane Kiffin.
And listen, it's almost like a kid hasn't made up his mind, but people want you to guess where he's going to go anyways. It's like impossible to. You want me to, but I'm just reading the tea leaves here. Justin's got intel there. I'm just reading the tea leaves of what Justin was reported, of what I've seen not reported, of names being floated. So I'm just reading tea leaves here. I'll say Lane Kiffin. I'll go a step. You have more to lose than I do, Justin. I'm just a recruiting reporter. I'll go Lane Kiffin 8.5, and that might be conservative for me. I really, at this point, and I hope I'm not jinxing this, because my ass would be jinxing. I think it's him. All right, I'm going to leave it at that. I don't know anything. Like I said, I'm just reading tea leaves here.
Yeah, that's all you can do.
Keith?
Take my glasses off here.
Oh, shit.
Well, no, I was just looking.
You look sexy, Keith.
My Tinder account there.
Swipe left, swipe right, baby.
That unfortunately they're all swiping left on me for the last episode, but no, I think 6.5. I mean, I'm just, what's happened? That AD search.
Yeah, I'm with you.
It's sort of like, man, things come out. It reminded me that things can.
Oh yeah.
And so it's kind of like, how I feel about conspiracy theories. I think 99.9% of them are garbage. But we watch so much TV now that they've got us all convinced everything in the world's a conspiracy, right? And so it seeps into your brain. So that last search has got me thinking, okay, is there going to be something sort of surprising? I mean, I don't know, but that's just me being paranoid. I'll say Lane 65%.
I'm with you in that vein, Keith. I'm going to go Lane at 50%.
Ooh, boy. Ooh.
How many?
I do not discount the field, okay? And I think Lane has the largest percentage. He's making up half. And then there are these smaller parts within the field that I just don't know about. So I'm still Lane Kiffin versus the field. I've said that for over about 2 weeks now. I think he is the most known name. I think he is the frontline target. Will he be the next head coach? I don't know. I mean, I tend to agree with you guys. I think from the information I've been told, from tea leaf reading, from everything else, I want to say yes, but I'm skeptical, by nature, and so I playing the law of averages. It's when that first name pops out. Very seldom is that first name the head coach hired. Now, I think this may be the exception. I honestly believe that, but to put a confidence level above 50% for me right now, I'm hard pressed to do that.
Oof, man! Don't walk me back, dude. Am I falling for it? Am I falling the trap?
Listen, I'm the ultimate sunshine pumper. I'm trying to keep from doing that, Jeffrey. I mean,
well, that's what I was trying to do with Hugh Freeze.
Oh, I know.
I just, like I said, there's all the smoke last week.
What did Chris Lowe tweet specifically about Lane Kiffin?
With regard to, yeah, so basically he said he will be shocked if it is not Lane Kiffin or Hugh Freeze as the next head coach at Auburn, the two names that he listed. And then he went on to tweet, Ole Miss has about 1/10 of the NIL of Auburn. That was the other thing that was said. And that's what got the Ole Miss beat spun up with regard to Chris Lowe. But to me, I put a lot of weight in what Chris Lowe says because of how deliberate he is. That's why I probably have Kiffin more highly regarded than anybody else, and why, to me, Hugh Freeze is a name that makes sense to some degree. He knows a lot of people on that campus. He's an offensive-minded head coach that's won in this league, so I do not discount him at all as a member of the field that could very well be the next head coach at Auburn.
Trying to think what day he tweeted that. It was either Sunday or Monday, wasn't it?
It was back off his roundtable appearance, so I think it was Wednesday.
Oh, okay.
I think.
Yeah, it was after some of the smoke had died down.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was after. He was probably Wednesday.
I think it was Wednesday-ish.
Yeah, it very much felt like as somebody that you guys pay attention. Obviously, Jhead, you pay attention to it. Being in it, I understand. I understand. I think sometimes why things happen when they do, and that felt like it was being teed up. That's what that tweet felt like to me a little bit, was sort of teeing it up to be right.
Yeah.
When he knows more than what he said in that.
Oh, here's your tweet. Here you go. The overriding reason Lane Kiffin would leave Ole Miss for Auburn is the hefty NIL fund Auburn has built. In the NIL world, that kind of cash is the key to sustaining success at a high level, both in attracting high school talent and keeping players from transferring. He followed that up with, one thing I know about Lane Kiffin, if he's indeed the choice at Auburn, is that he doesn't do anything impulsively. He would examine everything, all factors, and I do believe NIL would be the deciding factor if he were to leave. He's proud of Ole Miss's success. Yeah. I don't see the one, but I remember it was. I would be surprised if it wasn't Lane Kiffin or Hugh Freeze.
That is actually, I think that's an audio clip from the roundtable.
Okay.
That's that. I don't know that that's a tweet.
Okay. So, there you go. Great show, fellas. Well, you better, how about you, me, Keith?
Yes.
Man, we got a lot of stuff to do over the next few weeks. It's going to be a lot of twists and turns, a lot of fun. Hey, we're going to cover it all at Auburn Live on 3. And Hayden Harris wanted to know if Lane Kiffin's going to call Jessica Andrews with eXp Realty, because he might be needing a home in the Auburn Opelika area. And if you are, be sure to give her a call, 334-704-4442. Jessica Andrews with eXp Realty, residential investment properties, or if you need to sell that house, dude, she will get it done, son. Jessica Andrews, 334-704-4442. Great show, folks. Great calls. Big Pat let us off. We appreciate Big Pat. Big Pat used to tailgate near the media parking lot, so Cole and I made a little stop there by Big Pat one time. Good dude. Anthony from Montgomery, appreciate him. Always a great call. Bryce, Jeremy, Crawdad Man, Jordan, and Clayton, and Hayden Harris with some great comments tonight. We appreciate everybody. Go check out Auburn Live on 3. Justin's going to have hot boards, going to have coaching search Q&As this week. We're going to be trying to cover this search from all angles. And don't forget, there's a game to be played next Saturday between the Fighting Auburn Tigers and the Alabama Crimson Tide Elephants, which is not a good sign for Auburn, that they're like a 3-touchdown dog, I think. 4 touchdowns. Oh, yikes.
Let's see how inspired Alabama is to play that game.
Ooh. I'm on the verge of picking the upset.
Might as well.
Let's go. Great show, folks. Thank you so much. Hey, if you haven't liked and subscribed to our YouTube channel, you're on it right now. Click that subscribe button. Then hit that notifications button. Anytime we're going live, you will get a notification to watch that video anytime we upload anything new. We appreciate everybody once again. For Keith, for Justin, for Jhead, for Zach in the back, I'm Jeffrey Lee. Y'all stay out of the left lane. See ya.